And hello world! We're back again for another episode of your daily learning of the mathematics in the modern world.
And for today's episode, partner, it's a new discovery and information that we're going to share to our viewers.
Oh, knowledge again? Are we going to travel again to the past?
You're right, Irene. Since our research team had found interesting and captivating information from the ancient times, and it's called Inca history and numbering, or they called it number of strings.
Wow, exciting episode!
Right, partner? Also, our research team found people who knows how Inca's numbering works.
And we can't wait to share this learning to our beloved viewers. So let's get started. This person is one of the people found by our research team. She's known about how number of strings works in the Inca's history. Here's Miss Elijah Benedicto via Zoom to share and explain what is number of strings, its history, and how these things help the Incas people before in the lives and community.
So, hello daily viewers, I'm here to share and explain what is number of strings, its history, and how these things help the Incas people before in their lives and community. Since Incas people know how to count and their hand is not enough to provide more than a fleeting image of numerical concepts and cannot serve as a recording device. They come up into an ingenious method of keeping accurate record by the means of a highly elaborate and fairly complex system of knotted string, and it's called quipu, an Inca word meaning knot. Since Inca civilization was back then as far as the 12th century Common Era, they regained the height of power and glory. So, how's this igneous method help the Incas people back then? It became their tool to have an accurate record in statistics, records in the community, and the numbering tool that the Incas government used in whatever information it deemed important. They used the knots or strings to have tangible records. Sometimes they use it as a receipt. How fascinating, right? Imagine that you are receiving this kind of strings as a receipt in a modern time. Maybe we just throw it somewhere. But by the means of these strings or knots, they don't need to be hassled counting through their hands since it had limited number to be counted. It looks like difficult in a century today, but this igneous method helps them much better, and until now, it was preserved by the Incas people at Peru County.
For our second information, here's Miss Gabriel via Zoom to share and show us the different identification of knots and how it is tied.
Thank you, Ms. Tricia and Irene. So today, daily viewers, I am going to share to you the two identification of how to tie knots and how it helps Inca people to identify the exact number of it for their records and for their bookkeeping. So first is this figure. So as you can see, the tie gets thicker and thicker depending on the number. So if you pick number 1, of course, there will only be one knot. So if you choose 2 knots, of course, there will be 2 knots. So moving forward, here is the second figure, or here is the second identification on how to tie knots. So today I'm going to demonstrate to you on how to tie knots depending on the number. So I have picked 112. So I'm going to show to you the 112 here in the tie. So the first thing to do is you must have a tie. And then the first thing to do, since 112 is the number that I have picked, so first number is number 1. So you're gonna tie it here. So that symbolizes number 1. So another number 1, since it is 112, we're going to tie it here. Like this one. There. So the both number, the 1 and the 1 should be should have distance. So the both should have distance. So the last one will be number 2, since it is 112. So I am going to tie here the 1 and then another tie to make it 2. So we have already 2 here. So here is the demonstration of it. Here is the number 1 for 112, the number 1, the other number 1, and the number 2. So if you have noticed, the number 2 is quite thick because, as what I said earlier, if the number is number 2 or number 1, the tie gets thicker and thicker. So this kind of tying knots was used for keeping billing records of the bakers. So that's all. Thank you so much.
For the next information about number string, here is Miss Charisse via Zoom, and she's going to share us how Kipos works, like what Miss Elijah said a while ago.
Good day, daily viewers! So, I'm going to add more explicit explanation about what Miss Elijah said. So, Quipu, or quipus, is a recording device of the Inca people before. It used for various needs and it's very efficient for the Inca administration. Through quipus, they are able to have a representing liturgical, chronological, and statistical record, and primarily it was used for bookkeeping. Precisely, quipus as their concrete enumerating tool. To avoid confusion to them, their string had a color for a traditional meaning, both tangible objects and abstract notions. According to Georges Ifra, quipus were used to represent the results of counting in all sorts of things. From military taxes, harvest recognised to accounts of animals slain in the enormous annual sales that were held. From delivery notes to population censuses like this. Through quipus, they can do calculation of the base value for levies and taxes for this or that administrative unit of Inca Empire inventories, of sources in men and equipment, financial records, and etc. And this quipus works before and until now, which preserved by the Inca community. This is the chart on how I solved figure 6. As you notice, we have 5 strings, and each string has a single knot number. And that's called string A, B, C, D, and E. In the first string, it is string A, it is contained of 3 and 8. By combining of numbers, we will get the answer of each string. You can notice there here in our chart. Therefore, in the last string, it represents the sum of all strings from A to D. By adding of them all, we will get the final answer of 658.
Thank you, Ms. Charis, for showing us on how the quipus works. So, in continuing this daily learning,
Here is Miss Ashley to explain the quipus movement.
Hello, daily viewers! So, a while ago, a quipus said it originally came from Peru country, but it also moved in China and Japan. According to George Ifra, these practices spread to Okinawa, Shuri, Yaeyama, Japan, notably in the Ryukyu Island. It was used by the workers who keep record of days they work, and moneylenders who keep their accounts, wherein in the upper half of the knot of the main string it signifies the date of loan and the lower half of it is the amount of it. It also used by the harvestalis, taxpayers, and receipt. This figure shown the yen, sen, and rin of knots in Okinawa, Shuri, and Yaeyama, Japan. In addition, knots was used to identify what name is referring and through prayer. This is the figure. By the means of the Hebrews numerals that you can see, Inca people can determine what name is indicating the knots. Hence, knotted string serve not only as a recording device, but it also used for a wider perspective of calculations.
Thank you, Ashley, for giving more idea and trivia about knots to our daily viewers. It's undeniable that number of string or quipus had a lot of things can do in enumerating tools. It was used to maintain administrative archives, keeping accounts or contracts, calendar, and etc. as a mnemotechnic tool.
right, partner? So, daily viewers, that's all for our episode today.
What an amazing journey, partner.
Indeed, thank you for our daily viewers of Mathematics of Modern World who are very excited to our episode. That's why we are #1 trending today.
Before we end, we would like to say thank you to our daily viewers for your time and support for today's episode. See you on the next episode, here only on Daily Learning of Mathematics of Modern World. Bye!